Thank you very much, Antoinette, and thank you to everybody for joining us today. I'm sure it's you're at a very busy stage of the year, and I'm sure you're crawling towards half term, but thank you very much for making the time to be with us and for us to show you, hopefully, how to get the most out of ActiveHub today. So I'm just going to introduce the two of us who are on the call today. So I'm here with my colleague, Caroline Fisher, who's a senior product manager working on the digital team. My name is Kate Benile, and I joined Pearson as a product manager in 2022. But up until that point, I'd been a modern foreign languages teacher and more latterly a head of faculty in a large comprehensive school, having taught for almost 25 years. And as you can imagine, I very much feel your pain in having gone through many, many rounds of curriculum reviews, new schemes of work, reform, new exams, and new resources and platforms to get to know. So I understand that how busy the September term already is. And then on top of that, you've got to learn a whole new platform to use in the classroom. So hopefully today, you'll get a bit more confidence in knowing more about the admin side of things around the back of ActiveHub, and also greater familiarity with how you can use the ActiveHub resources. So as I said, we'll be starting with looking at the admin side of things. So Caroline's going to take you through that shortly. And then I'll move on to looking at ActiveHub, its use in the classroom and beyond. But before we get to that, we have been listening very attentively to feedback that we've been getting from teachers regarding how things are going so far. And I just wanted to update you with some things that we're doing to improve our service. So we've had quite a lot of feedback around the size of the visuals. So the things that I'm going to present here are some updates that are really happening very imminently, which are hopefully going to really improve your experience of ActiveHub in the classroom. So first of all, this one here, in order to maximize the use of the screen space, we are going to move the toolbar from the top of the page, top of the screen, down to the bottom. So this view on the left-hand side here is what you have at the moment. So you can see you've got the settings icon in the top left and the resources button there. And on the right-hand side, you can see how that's going to change. So you can see that the resources has moved to the bottom. And actually the button next to it is where you would toggle between the single page view and the double page view, which was in the settings button. And that allows that page just to move up the screen a little bit, again, just to bring it a little bit bigger on the screen. The next improvement that we're making is to do with the zoom function. And currently, you can see on the left-hand side, those are the increments that you have to play with at the moment, sort of in terms of getting it larger on your screen. And on the right-hand side, you can see that we've actually added quite a few to really fine-tune those increments so that you can go up initially in 25s and then 50s and so on. So again, hopefully that's going to really improve the experience of the Zoom. Next here, what you can see on the left-hand side is how it looks if you zoom in on one activity in isolation at the moment. And on the right-hand side, you can see that actually we've reduced the margin sizes. So again, that zoomed in activity takes up more of the screen space and hopefully will give greater clarity to students. And now the audio player, at the moment, on the left-hand side here, you can see the audio player as it appears fully. And when you minimize it, at the moment, the task size remains the same. But going forward, when you minimize the audio player, as you can see it on the right-hand side, again, the zoomed in activity, that audio activity there has expanded to fill the space. So again, hopefully just giving a better view for everybody. And finally, some really exciting news. I hope you'll be pleased to hear that we've been listening to teachers telling us how much they have enjoyed using the listening exercises from our ActiveLearn service, and we're going to be adding some listening activities to our independent practice service going forward. So those will come around spring 2025, and they will include some dictation activities and some listening comprehensions with brand new audio. So hopefully that will please lots of people when we get there. And just to end before I pass back over to Caroline, just wanted to make you aware of some help videos that we have. So these links, they will come out to you. You've got the slides in the resources section there. Please do have a look at the help videos, and they will help you with some of the things that we're going to go through today. So if you wanted to just check in with those, that will be really useful. I also just wanted to say, before I pass over to Caroline, we have at the moment, due to the large number of people in the webinar, we've turned off the chat functions and the Q&A, but there will be a feedback form following this webinar today where you can write on there anything that you want to know a little bit more about. We are going to do another one of these webinars, and we'll tweak it accordingly. And anything else that you want any support with. And we've also got weekly drop-in sessions happening from next week on Wednesdays. So that's another forum. If you wanted to come on with a specific question, then please do look out for those. Okay, so I'll hand over to Caroline now, who is going to look at getting set up with you.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. And thank you very much for joining us today. I do appreciate it is a very busy time of year for you at the moment. So to give up your time and join us, we are very grateful for that. I hope that you'll be able to take away a few hints and tips from today's call that might make it a little bit easier using ActiveHub and save a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do now is just to talk you through a few of the key elements when you get started using ActiveHub. We're going to look at the admin section of AdminHub, and first of all, we'll have a look at how you can move your users, your staff and your students across from ActiveLearn into ActiveHub. We'll have a look at how you can upload students in bulk in ActiveHub, a little bit about student password management, and then finally, we'll have a look at how you can create your groups and your classes within ActiveHub. So this screen here that you're seeing in front of you might look familiar, I would hope. And the area we're going to be looking at and focusing on is the admin area here. So I'm just going to move across into the admin area. What you will see when you go into ActiveHub is if you go into the authorizing ActiveLearn users area, you will see, I'm just moving my screens across so I can show you this. If you go into the admin area and the authorize ActiveLearn users areas, if you are an existing ActiveLearn school, what we've done is we've tried to make it much easier for you to get things set up. And what we've done is we've brought across all of your staff and learners that you had set up in ActiveLearn. So it means that you don't have to set them up in ActiveHub. What happens is they don't actually get access straight away. So what you would need to do is, first of all, go to the Authorize ActiveLearn Users screen and then select out of the list here of all the learners and staff, which ones you want to bring into ActiveHub. And all you need to do literally is just tick the names and confirm the authorization. Once you confirm that, those students and those staff will then become set up in ActiveHub. You don't need to do anything more. You don't need to give them any additional access. It will all be automatic, and they will be able to log in with their ActiveLearn login into ActiveHub. So that's hopefully a much quicker and easier way for you to get all your students and all your staff set up in ActiveHub if you are an ActiveLearn customer. Now, if you're new to ActiveHub, then you will want to set up your users in bulk yourself. So in order to do this, in the admin screens, go along to the bulk create user accounts screen. You may be prompted to have a look at the authorizing screens first, but that's just to check if you are an ActiveLearn user. In here, you have the ability to set up a number of students and staff at the same time. So what you do is you preview the template here, download it, and then that's going to give you a template that you will be able to use to set up your users. Now I've set one up here already. So it'll give you this template. You add all your students in here, and then it is simply a case of copying that list, going back to the space that you have in the admin screen, pasting them all, and remember to include all the headings when you do the copy. So you'll see the headings in there as well. And all you do there is go onto the next screen where you'll be able to review all of these users and confirm that they're all correct. And then that will create them all in bulk in ActiveHub. What will happen then is that they'll get an email welcoming them to ActiveHub with a link and a temporary password. They'll be prompted to update the password when they log in, and then your staff and your students will be able to use ActiveHub. Obviously, if you only want to set up a single user, then this is the field we recommend rather than use that bulk facility. So that's how you get your users and your staff and your students set up in ActiveHub. Next thing you want to do is to create your groups. So you click onto the Create Group and Add Courses area in the admin screens. And what we've got here is an easy 5-step process to follow where you would add your learners, add your teachers, add your course, and then review. So I'll just talk us through how to set up a group here. So pop in a name for your group, and we're now on to step 2. And in here, you can select your students, which you want, the ones you want to add to the group. You can either select them like I'm doing here, or if you've got them in a list, it might be quicker and easier for you to add them from the CSV list there. So select the students you want to include, and then move on to the next step where we're adding the teachers. Select the staff that you want to add to the group and move on to the next step. And at this point, this is where we'll be adding the course. So for example, you are likely to only see a list of your MFL subjects at this point. Because I'm using a demo site, I've got lots of subjects showing here. So select the course that you want to add to the group and then define the course length. Now, this is likely to be if you've got a 2-year Key Stage 4 course, you might be starting in September 24 and finishing in the summer of 2026. On to the next screen, and this you can see the review. You can edit these if there are any incorrect values there, and then create the group. And I would allow a few minutes at this point, and then after that, you should be able to go into any of the other areas of ActiveHub, and you'll be able to do things such as assigning tasks to that group. And Kate's going to show us how to do that shortly. So that's how you would set up a group in ActiveHub. And then finally, the area that you'll be focusing on from then onwards is the user accounts. So this is where you'll manage your learner and staff accounts, and you may well have some support from admin or other data teams to help you with this. But in this screen, this is where you will be able to edit the users in bulk, so your students or your staff, or you can edit them individually. You can reset passwords, add emails, change their year, and many more features. So to do any changes or edit them, just simply tick their name and then go to the Actions button and Edit. And you'll see this pop up on the right-hand side, and you can then change any of these details here, including doing a password reset. Now, if you want to edit more than one student or staff, not a problem, just tick their names there, and you might have seen on the right-hand side that that's actually changed the screen into the bulk edit mode. So at this point, you can then go in and change the year group for all of those students. Alternatively, you can use the CSV option here if you wanted, for example, to upload lots of email addresses in one go. So that is how, so you just click, make your changes and click update. And that's how you would do any edits going forwards. There's many more details around instructions around how you can use the admin screens that's set up in the Help Hub in ActiveHub. And just click on the question mark icon on the top right of the screen. I'm going to hand back to Kate now, who's going to look at the classroom and beyond for us.
Okay, thank you. So yes, so let me just go back then one slide. So yes, you'll see the ActiveHub dashboard there, and we're going to look at the resources and tasks section. So when you go into that section, this is the view that you have. So at the top, you've got the courses, and then in the next two sections, you've got the classroom ebooks and the student ebooks. And some really good news for those of you who are on the complete package is that we will be adding the student ebooks to this view for you, so that you will also be able to use the student ebooks with your students going forward. So they will be appearing imminently here for you to use with your students. So if I go into the courses section now, let's just open one of the books up and see what we have there. So I'm going to go into Pearson Edexcel GCSE French, and that's for both tiers. And what I find there is the overview, and then I've got all of the different modules. And I just wanted to show you the overview because within this section here, you'll find the student book answers. So we have had some questions about where the student book answers are, and that's where they're lying. So if you wanted to download individual modules here, or you wanted to share them, print them, this is the best place to find them all together. So I could select, for example, to just have the foundation ones. And then I could click on those and download them and use them with either printed out in class or perhaps share them with other teachers. So that's that part. And then if I go back into a module here, this will pull up all of the different activities within each unit. So if I look in module 1, unit 1 here, I've got the independent practice grammar and vocabulary activities. I've got all the audio, I've got answer PowerPoints, I've got transcripts, absolutely everything for module 1, unit 1. And if I wanted to select one of these resources to share with students, I can do so. I can filter obviously here. So I could look, for example, to just the online activities. And then I might want a particular level there, or a particular skill. So I'm going to, for example, here, I'm going to select the higher, and I'm going to select, I want to look at the grammar there. Okay, so that brings up this activity here. So I could then click on the box next to the title, and I can create tasks. So when I create the task, that will send a notification to the students. So if we look here, I would pop in here the name of the task. So I'm just going to put in homework 1, and I'm going to select my group. And obviously the dates are there, which I can change. And then here with the students, so if I am in that mixed ability setting, I've selected a higher activity here, but I might only want 2 or 3 of my students to do that. And I might be setting the foundation version for the others. So I can unclick there and just choose a couple of students that I would like to do that higher activity, and then apply it. And as I said, when I assign it, that's when they would get the notification to say that that task needs doing. When they have done it, just if you look at the top left-hand side here, underneath resources, you've got a review tasks option, and that will bring up the information Caroline's going to show you in a bit more detail later, but about whether they've completed it, how they did with it, what their next steps are, and so on. Okay, so that's the courses section. So let's have a look now within an individual book. So if I open up the French Higher Teacher ebook here, there we go. So it's just coming up there, and I'm just going to show you the difference between the teacher ebook and the student ebook. So as it opens here, you can see the book coming up in the middle, and on the left-hand side, we've got this resources panel. And at the moment, there's nothing there because I'm not on a page, but if I open it to a specific unit, you'll see that resources panel coming up there. So let's have a look at how that differs when we look at the student ebook. So here's the teacher ebook on the left-hand side, and there's the resources panel. And when I pull up the student ebook on the right-hand side, you can see that there's far less in the resources panel there. So that's because the teacher has access to absolutely everything. So all of the PowerPoints, the audio files, the transcripts, answers, everything. But the student just has the audio and the audio transcript. So there's just less for them to kind of work through, if you like. And just honing in a little bit further on that resources panel. So this is obviously a new feature, and we've moved away from hotspots. And I think it just makes it much more clear here to see everything all in one place. So I know sometimes when I was teaching from a book, somebody else might use a worksheet and I hadn't seen where that worksheet was because it would have been just one of the icons near the top. I might have missed it. Whereas here, it's impossible to miss it. You will see absolutely everything. So just to highlight the difference between the this page resources and the other resources. So the this page ones are very much the resources that are integral to that double page spread. But the other resources could be supplementary worksheets or sentence builders, but resources which really complement the page. I also just want to draw everybody's attention to these answer PowerPoints, which are now enhanced. So this is a new feature. So some of our answer PowerPoints will be just very simple. If the activity has been quite a simple one, it might be just that the answers come up as 1A, 2B, and so on. But for some activities where there's actually more depth to the activity, there's some more complexity, and you might really want to be able to discuss where those answers come from with students, we've provided these enhanced answer PowerPoints. So on this one, you can see that the activity is a reading. The students need to fill in some blanks there. And on the blue answer PowerPoint here, you can see the answers which would come up one at a time, but also that text showing you with underlined in different colours where those answers come from. And as you can see, this one is quite a complex, dense text, so it's also got numbers on. So I might have a class where it seems that lots of them haven't actually managed to find the answer for number 3 or made a mistake there. And then both I and they can really easily look at where it came from in the text, and we can discuss where that mistake happened and why. So that's a new addition this time, which hopefully people will start finding. Also going to look at phonics resources. I'm going to look at them in a bit more detail a bit later as part of our listening section. But here I just wanted to pull out that they are now fully integrated into our Key Stage 4 offer. So they are part and parcel of the books, and you will have seen them on the resources panel there. And again, I'll say this again a bit later, but in order to maximize your use of them, they need to be fully downloaded. So they are such a rich resource with lots of audio in them, lots of and games and so on, that in order to use them properly, you will need to download them. So do just be aware of that. Now, sharing resources with students. So as I said just a few minutes ago, those of you who've got the complete package will very soon be getting the student ebooks added to that. And that's really going to be very useful if you want to share resources with students. So we've looked at how we can share individual activities, but if you just wanted to share the page with them so that they go directly there with their homework, so there's no excuses for them not finding it, then here at the bottom, you've got this share page option. So if you click on there, that will give you a link and it will take the students directly to that page. So you could put that on Satchel 1 or whatever platform you use for setting homework, and it will take them to that double page. But if you wanted to share audio, then the best thing to do is to click on Share Preview here, and that will share the audio link. And in that case, what will happen is that when the student clicks on that, it will open the double page, but also the audio player at the bottom. So they will have the audio to work from, but they'll also have the context of the whole page where they can read the exercise instructions, and they've got the supporting material around it. So moving on then to listening activities, let's look at these in a bit more detail. So it's worth pointing out, first of all, that, of course, most of our listening activities will have a blue icon next to them with the word to listen in whichever language. But there are some where the activity perhaps has a dual purpose, and perhaps the focus of that activity is actually on a different skill, but there's an audio file attached to it. So if you look on the right-hand side here, you'll see there's actually a speaking activity, exercise 3, where it says listen to the teacher asking the 2 follow-up questions, translate each question into English and prepare your own answers in French. Then listen again and respond to the teacher. So when you hover over these activities, you will see that all of the accompanying resources come up on the left-hand side in that resources panel. So here they come up in, as you can see, in pink, and you can see the audio file, the transcript, and the answer PowerPoint. So it's just worth watching out for the ones, as I say, where it's a dual skill activity. Now let's have a look at the audio player itself. Okay, so I'm just going to go into the book now, and we're just going to pull out an activity with some listening. So you've seen before, but you can navigate either by the bottom here, the contents page, to find whichever unit you want, or you can put into the bottom left-hand side if you know the page number, and I think we all get to know the page numbers very quickly. You can put the page number in there and press return. So we're going to just have a look at let me just find a different one, sorry. An activity here. Okay, so if I hover over exercise 5 here, you'll see that on the left-hand side in that resources panel, the 3 options have come up: the audio, the transcript, and the answers. And it's also worth saying that actually, if I can do it the other way around. So if I didn't know what these activities were linked to, these resources were linked to, I could click there and you'll see it come up in blue. It's got the blue frame around it on the right-hand side. So if I click, on the exercise, that will bring up my exercise and the audio player here at the top. Okay, so if I just wanted to play and pause, and I don't necessarily need the students to be looking at the audio player there, I can minimize it to just reduce the cognitive load. This zoomed in exercise here will expand shortly, and students can be just concentrating on the exercise, and I can be operating the audio player from up here. I can play and pause as I wish. However, I might want to freeze the screen so that the students are just looking at the activity like that. And I might want to use the audio player behind the scenes. And we've added a few features to the audio player now. So as well as play and pause and rewind and fast forward in 10-second chunks, I can adjust the volume here but also this is a new feature. I can adjust the playback speed. So this could be really useful. So it could be, for example, that there are quite a few tongue twisters across our resources, and it would be quite a fun thing to do to just speed them up and to see whether the students can kind of keep pace with those. You could use at the back of the book, there's a phonics section with lots of sentences practicing phonics. You could use those as tongue twisters. Or I could slow it right down. So if students are perhaps not catching a word in the dictation that they're trying to write down, or they've found a particular utterance difficult, I can slow it down just by changing that playback speed. I would just decrease the speed there, and then that would give them another shot at it. In addition to that, I'm not going to play it now, but if I were to play it, you would see the different sections being highlighted as we hear them. So that's really, really useful, because you might have some students, if you did display this, you might have some students who kind of lose their way through listening, and they can quickly look up and see where they are. But also it does mean that as a teacher, you can replay a question that is tripping students up, that they found difficult, if you wanted to, rather than that guesswork of trying to find where to begin with it. In terms of the repeats, just a reminder of the sort of rationale around how we've decided on the repeats. So in our exam spreads at the end of every module, you'll see that they mirror exactly what you will find in the exams. So for Edexcel, there will be 3 listens, and in AQA 2, with the exception of the dictation, of course, which is 3 times. But in our core units, they are normally played twice, and with the exception of longer activities, which are often listen and reads, and we just thought we would leave that to the teacher's discretion if they wanted to play it again. It's just dead easy to do that. So another thing you can do, if you wanted the students to be looking on the board at the activity here, and you've just got that frozen, you could open the transcript behind the scenes, so they can't see it, but you can. So you could have the transcript here just in the preview view. And again, you can open your audio here. So this could be the teacher view of the audio player down here, the transcript there, whilst the students are just seeing the activity. So that then means that you can have a look ahead, you can see where you might want to pause, where you might want to replay things, and so on. So again, it's just quite a versatile platform. Okay, so let's go back to looking at the next bit then, and I'm just going to go back and look at the phonics PowerPoints now. So as I said before, these are best seen if they are completely downloaded. So let's have a look at doing that now. I'm just going to go to Unit 3. And here I've got this phonics box here, and you can see that on the left-hand side, I've got the audio coming up, the transcript, and the PowerPoint. So if I go to that PowerPoint, I could just preview it and have a look, just check that it's what I want, but I know that's what I want, so I'm going to just press on download here, and I just need to make sure that it downloads fully. So I open it up here, so that I can see all of the audio icons coming up properly there, okay? So I'm just going to get rid of the editing bar there. There we go, okay? Now in this view, it's just worth pointing out that underneath here, you've got the notes section as well. So you've got the teacher's notes, the audio script, which for the most part for an activity like this is fine, it's nice and clear. But for some of the games, it might not be clear to you how they work or how they're intended to work. So there are the instructions there at the bottom as well. So they're useful to have a look at. And if I were to put it into full screen mode, I would be able to click on these individual icons, and obviously you would hear the audio there. So let's just go back here to, oh, sorry, there. Okay, that's phonics. So let's move on now to mixed ability teaching. So I know that this is the reality of most GCSE classrooms, and it's one we were very cognizant of when we were preparing our resources. So we've this time made our books work in parallel with each other more than that they did in the past. So you will find similar activities on the two books, but just at different levels. So the answer to this is very simple. It's 2 tiers, 2 tabs. So it's having them both open at the same time in your lesson. So I've already got my higher open here at Unit 3. And then I'm just going to open my foundation version here. And I'm going to also open that at Unit 3. So you might want to mix and match some of your activities, for example. So let's just have a look at what Unit 3 looks like in the foundation. Here it comes, okay? So I can toggle between the two here at the top, and it might be that I want to do this listening here just from the foundation book to start with. And then as we go on, I might want some of my higher students to be working from the other version. So there's a way that we can do this so that all students can see the relevant resources at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click to get rid of the resources panel. I'm just going to, at the moment, click on settings, but remember this will be at the bottom of your screen very soon. I'm going to click on the single page view, and I'm going to do that for both of my books. There we go. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to split my screen. So I'm going to pull this down. This is my higher tab, and I'm going to pull it across here. And then I'm going to click on the screen there, and I can hopefully see, yes, this is the foundation version I've got on the left. So foundation on the left, higher on the right. Now at the moment that's quite small, and I'm not imagining that students could see all of that. But if they were doing exercise 3, this translation task from the foundation, and I wanted my higher students to do exercise 4 here because it's much more complex, then I could just zoom in a bit and pull it up, and then everybody can see what they need to see. And it could also be that some students perhaps start with the foundation task and then they realize, no, this is fine, I'm good with this, and they move over to the other one, or the other way around. There might be students who start with the higher, struggle, and then move back to the foundation. But that's a way where all students in the class can see on the screen what they need to see. Okay, so I'm just going to close that there, and I'm going to pull it back actually into there. That's better. Okay, there we are. Okay, so that's our side-by-side view. And now let's have a look at the Zoom functionality. So you've already seen quite a lot of this already as we've been going through, but I'm just going to draw out a few of the important functions of the Zoom. So first of all, that 1 and 2 page view. So just a reminder there that it will look different. At the moment it's within settings, but it will be down the bottom with the resources bar. And again, that's just for reducing the amount on the screen that the students need to look at. That can be really useful. Zooming in on a specific activity, you've seen me do this with the audio, but I just wanted to show you if I go into Unit 5 here, and I just find that reading activity. So I'm just going to look at the double page view. So if I hover over this, I can pull it up, and I can look at the zoomed in version of it. So I might want students to just be looking at that task in isolation. But also with these arrows to the left and the right, I can move through the different activities in that zoomed in view. So that can be really handy rather than keep going back to the book and out again. So that's something to just be aware of. Zoom and freeze, I think I've talked about this already. So just a reminder that you can open the audio activities and you can minimize the audio player so that the students can just concentrate on the activity. And then page zoom. So why would you want to zoom in on a page when you can zoom in on a specific task? Well, it might be if I look at, if I come out of this and look at Unit 4, I'm just going to go back a page here. So I might have students working on this exercise here. So they're reading the text messages and then translating them. But when I move forward to the next activity, you can see here it says that they need to turn the exercise 3 text messages into voicemails and read them aloud, and then create a new voicemail, changing the underlying details. So at the moment, they can't see those texts there. So what I could do is I could zoom in and then pull that up. Might even be able to go a little bit bigger there. There we are. And now the students can see the text messages, they can see the task instructions, and they've also got here the grammar box to support their learning, because this is all about the near future. So if you want to show them more activities or more resources on the page to support, then I would use that zoom, that page zoom there. Okay, and I think I'm now going to hand back to Caroline for our last session on assessments.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen there. And we're going to have a look at creating assessments and have a look at our ready-made assessments within ActiveHub. So from the main homepage, you will see a tile there called Assessments. When you go into assessments, you'll have a choice of having a look at the assessment library. And in the library, this is where we have our ready-made assessments. So these are assessments that our experts have built and put together as a paper, and all you would need to do is download that paper and give that to your students as it is. So at the moment, we have a number of end of module assessments in there, and we'll have a look at that in a second. If you didn't want to use our ready-made assessments, you do have the choice of building your own assessment, and that's in Assessment Builder. And here you've got a bank of questions that you can pick and choose which ones you want to include in the paper. So I'm just going to go back into ActiveHub now. And as we were before, looking at that familiar home page, go into the assessments area of ActiveHub. In here, you've got the assessment library, Assessment Builder, and the mark entry screens. So the first area we'll have a look at is the assessment library. And this is where we've got those ready-made assessments. And we'll have a look at Spanish at this point. So currently we have sample assessment materials in here, and we also have a few end of module assessments. These are for the first few modules that are available now, but we're working really hard to add more module assessments, and we will be shortly adding some end of year assessments in here as well. So please do watch this space, because we will be adding more papers in here. What you will find is assessments for each of the 4 skills in Foundation and Higher for Edexcel and AQA. So what you can do here is use the filters on the left-hand side to select the right papers on the right. So at the moment, we're seeing some of the module papers. To view the paper, click on View, and this will show the question paper, as you can see there. It will show the mark scheme, the resources, so in this case, some transcripts, and then the audio files for that paper. If this is what you want to have a look at and give to your students, download and select which items you want to download. And then you can give that paper to your students. These assessments are brand new. They have been built and written with the new spec in mind. And so they should be good practice for your learners and will help them prepare for the exams, as well as checking their understanding of what's been taught at the moment in your module assessments and in your module assessments. So that's the assessment library. We'll now have a look at Assessment Builder. And we'll have a look at Assessment Builder for German. So what we've got here is that at the top here, we've got a few filters, and you can use these to select the most relevant questions, because underneath here, you will see a long list of questions that you can include in your paper. And as I said before, this bank of questions will be getting bigger over the next few months as we add more content in here. Now, to find the content, you could, for example, do a search on, for example, here, family, and that's going to bring up all the questions that relate to family. Alternatively, you can use these filters. So one option would be maybe if you wanted to bring together a paper just with to do writing skills, that's going to bring up all the questions related to writing. You could go deeper than that if you want to and select just, for example, picture description questions and select from those. So however you use these filters, they all work in a combined version, so you can mix and match the filters together, and basically you're narrowing down your choice of questions that you want to put into your paper. If you want to have a look at your question, select View. This is going to show a pop-up showing the question, the mark scheme for that question, the resources related to that question, and then the audio related to just that question. So we've broken down the questions into individual audio files there. And if you decide that's a question you do want to include, just add it to your paper. You'll see these arrows on the left and right, which are quick ways for you to navigate backwards and forwards between the list of questions there. So I'm just going to select a few questions here and add them to my paper. If you don't want to add them, no problem, just skip on to the next question. So I'm going to add a few papers here, a few questions here, sorry. Until we've got what feels like a good selection of questions. If I feel I've got enough, I can move on to the next step. So in Assessment Builder, we've got this 4-step process. So at the moment, we've been adding the questions. We'll go on to step 2, where we can reorder and preview the questions. Happy with those questions, move on to step 2. What you can see on the left-hand side is an overview. So this tells me how many marks are in the paper, approximate time, and also on the right-hand side, you can see this ramping chart. So by coincidence, with the questions I've chosen, we've got quite a smooth ramp up of difficulty as the students sit the paper. Now you can change the ordering of here and change all the questions. The questions are sitting just below there. So for example, if you want to move questions around, you can just click and drag and move them around. The speaking questions don't have a level of difficulty attached to them, hence why you can see this speaking question here doesn't have a bar for it. If you're happy with the paper, have a look at the preview before you finish it off. So this is the question paper. Have a look at the mark scheme associated with that paper. You can see the transcripts and resources there. And then finally, you'll see all of the audios for each of the questions there. So that's a good way of previewing it. Again, if you're happy, move on to the next step. And at this point, we're just finalizing the details. So if I've built a module test and I want to give it a title, you have an option of skills, so you could be focused on one particular skill, or you can have a mixed paper there. And then the date you put in here is the date that it will be added to your assessment library. When it goes into the library, other people in your school will be able to view that paper and could use it as well as yourself. So if you want to carry on editing, then my suggestion there is make this date a date in the future so that you can still go and play about with it if you're not quite ready for it to go into the library yet. But when you are ready, put the date in there that you want it to be available in the library. You can add a cover sheet and then you would publish. And what that's going to do is download the paper and all the items associated with it. Now, what we should say at this point is that we aren't providing indicative grades at the moment, because obviously the students haven't sat the actual full exams yet. But once they sit the full exams in 2026, what you'll see in here is some indicative grading that will be based on the grading that's provided at the full GCSE level. So you can publish and save the paper then. And then you have the option to download the items that you want to download and give those assessments to your students. So that's the assessment library and the assessment builder. Now, Kate showed us earlier on, we were having a look at the, if I just go back to the home page here, Kate showed us earlier on how you can set some online practice activities for your students. And I just wanted to show us at this point how you'd be able to look at the insights and the results of those once your students have actually completed the activity. So, for example, if we imagine that we'd set our students a vocab activity as a piece of homework, if we go in here, we can see the results for those. But if you click onto the Task Insights area, you're going to get much deeper analysis here. Now, all of those online activities are auto-marked, so you don't have to spend any time marking them. What happens is as soon as the students have completed and handed in the activity, it all gets marked, and then those results will automatically flow through to the Insights area. So you don't have to do anything. All you might want to do is just go and have a look and see how your class has performed. So in this case, we can see which students, what status they're at, those that have started, those haven't done or started the activity, and the marks that they got. You can also have a look and see how long each student took to complete the activity. There is a breakdown screen as well, so you can see for each question how your group as a whole tended to do on that particular question. So you can sort those at any point as well if you want to. And then further down, you can see the question level analysis. So this is all done for you. So you can see in here for each question, the marks that each student got at question level. So that's the detail. Now, what you might want to do is obviously explore the skills analysis as well. But if you go on to the next steps, this is going to give you a very, very high level, which are the students that might need a little bit more work and more support in this, based on their performance in this task, and which of the students might need a little bit more stretch because they performed particularly well in the task. So all of that analysis is done for you there. In the rest of the Insights area, there is a lot of, you can just have a play about with it is my recommendation on that, and just see what you can find, because once you start putting assessment results in here and task results, and you add them over time, you're going to start to see some performances over time and trends and all those kind of things. So do have a little bit of a play about with that in your own time. But for the time being, I guess the first place to have a look at is the insights that you can get from the task that your students are sitting as homework or computer room activity. I'm going to hand back to Kate now, who's going to give us some final words. Thanks, Kate.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm just going to hopefully share correctly this time. Let's see. There we go. Okay, hopefully you can see that screen, but please somebody shout if you can't. So yes, that brings us almost to the end. So thank you very, very much for your patience today. There was a huge amount of information to get through, but you will be able to watch the recording and look at the PowerPoint subsequently to go back through anything. But I just wanted to highlight another few places that you can get some help. So I'm going to look at Help Hub in a moment, but underneath here you can see it as well. There are some different ways you can contact us if you've got particular issues that you just want to chat through with somebody. But your first port of call really would be Help Hub. And when you go into, resources and tasks here, as you can see, on the top right-hand side, there's a question mark just there. And if you click on that, then that will pull up the Help Hub information for that area. So if I were in the admin area, for example, then it would pull up the Help Hub information for anything to do with admin. I'm in the resources one here, so I would see anything to do with resources. So this one here you can see is admin. So lots of information that Caroline's been through with you today will be contained in these different areas here. So do have a look at that and explore that, because that might well answer your question. But if not, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. So I think that does bring me to the end there. So all that remains for me to say is I hope you have a wonderful last couple of days or last week, whichever it is for you in school, and get the chance to properly rest over half term. But thank you very much for coming today.